Gaming's been trying to adapt licensed properties like animation for years due to their popularity, yet trying to find a balance of gameplay and the look and feel of the show is easier said than done. But THQ has come out with their newest platformer, SpongeBob and the Cosmic Shake. So this is actually the developer's second attempt at the franchise, as they also did the remake of the beloved 2003 title, Battle for Bikini Bottom. Now that remaster was praised by fans and critics, so Purple Lamp is riding the coattails off of that one and is claiming this next title as the spiritual successor, which is like saying that this is going to be an instant classic. So how does a next-gen SpongeBob game work? Well, unless everyone who got an early review copy got a better version, it's a buggy mess on the PS4. Oh wow, look, it started to work. So if your audio ends up sinking into your cutscenes, then you can hear the story of SpongeBob and Patrick as they try to clean up Bikini Bottom and collecting all this magic goo to bring back to Madame Cassandra, who's like this evil mermaid. Now once you pass the opening, you're basically thrown out to Bikini Bottom. Now it's pretty closed off at first, but as you get further in the story, you open up more areas, and there's like a bunch of side quests and puzzles that you can also do, and shortcuts as well. Now, unlike its predecessor, Battle for Bikini Bottom, there's no need to go and collect a bunch of golden spatulas to unlock different levels and go through the story. So as long as you clear a stage, you can continue on, and I bet that's gonna at least allow a larger audience to actually beat this game. No, why is this stuttering? Okay, wait, let me see if I can get this thing to work! Now, they eventually released some day one patches, well, later that day with 2 of them, and it has been a little bit smoother to play, and the cutscenes are a little bit better, but that audio is just annoying. Most of the cutscenes do not line up, and there's usually like a 3-second delay before you're hearing the audio, and the cutscenes just end abruptly.
These creatures, Patrick, they're
Funny?
no, scary.
Oh yeah, that was gonna be my second guess.
Which just makes it hard to watch because the voice acting is top notch. Like the entire original cast is here. Like this is better than like a SpongeBob like episode or close to a movie. Like the jokes and one-liners land, the references are great, but the audio delay ruins the line delivery most of the time. Like I would recommend not touching the audio section in the main menu at all, because even if you drop the master by like one little click or anything else, it ruins the entire soundscape. Now besides that, my rest of the time playing the game did work pretty smooth, and I did enjoy the story. Like, it's not like a great SpongeBob episode, it's like a very fun, enjoyable one. I think the young audience can definitely understand and comprehend what's going on throughout the game, and all the levels and side missions are pretty straightforward and linear, so there's never going to be a chance of you being lost even from the, the main path. After a little platforming going through the level, you're always going to meet a character, and they're basically going to tax you to collect a certain amount of items to continue. And then they're going to hit you with a surprise. Yeah, I'm sorry, I should have gave you a warning before that one, but the game didn't give me one. Alright, so you're probably wondering, what can SpongeBob do? Well, he doesn't have the moveset even close to Battle Bikini Bottom, but in every level, he does at least gain a different ability. Like in this one, you can go and slingshot from different items, like in the previous game. But there are some other new stuff, like you unlock a karate kick later on, and you can blow bubbles to trap enemies. But because it's a more linear game, I think it makes sense for this title. Now this game happens to have 7 levels, each with 8 to 9 stages in them. And while I will give it to the level design and everything, I would have preferred at least maybe 1 or 2 more stages, because after the 4th one, they do decrease in size. And the last stage is basically, the final boss, so really you only have 6 levels. Now after beating a stage, you can backtrack and go to any of the checkpoints. Now, the only thing I don't like is that there are, side missions that you can do if you go back to those areas, and they're really hard to find. So basically, you're just gonna have to play from the beginning of the stage all the way in. And I think it's fine, because this type of game, it's not like the stages are that bad. You're like, oh wow, I gotta start from the very beginning. They're pretty fun, so you're basically just gonna be replaying a level and just doing a couple of extra stuff on the side. And honestly, backtracking, you do notice some of the nuances that they added to the levels and stages. So honestly, I do recommend going back, but don't even bother with the final bosses. I think all of them are pretty bad. Now, sometimes we throw the word linear like if it's a bad thing, but in some games, as long as there's a good flow, it can actually be used as a positive. And with this one, you're just gonna come across some enemies and then a puzzle and then just platform your way to a different spot. And every stage has about 1 or 2 areas where you can walk around, meet different characters, do little side stuff, platforming. And also you got to collect these golden tokens or doubloons. I don't know what they call it in this game. They're basically replacing the spatulas from the last one. And you're just unlocking costumes, which is a little bit better than, stopping the story path of you can't go any forward. So I do appreciate that. But at least in Battle Bikini Bottom, whenever you did the side things like the platforming, the time missions, the quest stuff, you usually got a golden spatula at the very end so you can unlock at least something, right? But in this game, unless you do these side things, you're not going to get a token. And even though it's mentioned in the story and you see a couple in the main path, you're not going to gain any. So don't expect at the very end of the game that you have a bunch of costumes or anything like that. No, you're basically going to have to go through the entire game again and really seek those things out. Now, I pre-ordered the game, so I got these costumes on the side, so I don't know if they'll end up selling that bundle later, but, this is just a little taste of some of the skins that they have, and I don't really think that, it matters to have any of them, because you're really just going to see the backside of SpongeBob. Now, some of these levels are going to have these on-the-rails moments where you're going to ride your trusty steed. I think his name is actually, I don't even remember what his name is. But, yeah, it's a seahorse, and honestly, the levels are pretty easy. It's nothing, too crazy, but this Fast and the Furious moment made me really happy. Oh, and there's, a few mini-games in this story as well. I wish there was more, because they're actually pretty creative. Now, one thing I wish they would add a little bit more creativity was the enemy design, because while they have this whole purple goo aesthetic to them, I would have thought there would have been at least a little bit more enemy variety with them, even in the final bosses, but no, apparently not. Now, I don't know if I'm being too critical about this title because, again, this is a game for a younger audience, but because this was made by the same studio that made the Battle for Bikini Bottom remake, and it was kind of being promoted to the same, group of players in their 20s and 30s, I would expect at least a little bit more challenge in the level design and in the enemies, but it's a fair game for what it is. Now, I think one fair criticism that even the young audience can give is that there's no real purpose to collect or really fight any of the enemies because you're just getting costumes, and unless you get the tokens, you can't really purchase any of them. So I don't know, maybe some level scaling powers for Patrick and SpongeBob would have been pretty cool to invest in them, right? Now, this was also a budget title, so for $40, I think it's a fair, game to buy, but I also think that this needed to be at least delayed by a couple months. Not just, the little loading lag that it has and there's the heavy audio delay with the cutscenes. I think they just needed a little bit more polish. This wasn't a title that needed to be rushed out. It's not like the last gen consoles are being, cut off next week or anything like that. So no, definitely I think this could have waited just a little bit more, I don't know, the summertime or something, but for what it is, it plays well. After the updates, it is running a little bit better, but still I come across a couple issues here and there that it's just okay, you know what, again, the PS4 has been out for how long? I would have expected, this game just to run a little bit better, but for a kid's game, I don't think a young kid audience is really going to notice any of the blemishes of this game, because in the end of the day, this is probably one of the best, SpongeBob licensed type games that I think have come out in the last decade or so. So if you were to get this for, a kid, you're young, or even for yourself, a SpongeBob fan, I think this is a great title. And for the game being at $40, I think it's a fair buy, but I also would prefer to catch it on a sale. Well, you heard a lot of good and you heard a lot of bad, so let's see, what's the score? A 7 out of 10. Again, thank you for watching the video. It's your boy Skatery. Please comment down below. Yo, did you like this title? Do you think I was being too critical, and were you able to beat it? Also, check out the channel if you want to see other reviews like this. And it's been your boy Skater V, and I'll catch you to the next one. Peace!